Okay, as with all updates, firmwares, adding new things to ham radio stuff, HTs, whatnot, the Anytone 878, when you update the firmware so you can work the satellites with the satellite feature, there's quite a few things you have to do it right. There's instructions that tell you how to do them. When I made that video last night, I thought I was all set, and I wasn't. So basically, when you download the firmware and unzip the file, you're going to get what you see here, this firmware. So you click on that firmware, and the very first thing, read first, update instructions. Double click on that. You're going to have, you got the full user manuals, Anytone BT and the Anytone, depending on which one you have, radio you have. You got the change log, tells you what they changed. Sorry, this is getting blurry. I am not sure what this base band update is. I have not done that yet. But here's your firmware update instructions. Okay, you double click on that. It opens it up in a, and this tells you how to update the firmware. So I did that last night. So I'll show you really quick what it says. It walks you through how to do the firmware update. I'm not going to go through it all, but you got to put the radio in firmware update mode. And then it tells you how to get to the firmware and update the file. And then the last part of it was, once you get the firmware updated, they tell you to make sure you have a copy of your code plug. I would do this before you even start updating the firmware, before you even read this stuff. Make a copy of your code plug, and then after you do the firmware update, make another copy of it and name it something different, just in case it's different with the new firmware. And then you've got to do this. You've got to power off the radio. You got to hold down different buttons, so you'll see that screen, and hit confirm. And then that's going to reset your radio, and you'll have to redo the date and the time and everything like that. Excuse me, I came down with something, so I'm going to be coughing off and on. So once you get that done, you're going to be at the point where I was last night with the other video, okay? The only thing that wasn't done was this icon update instructions. So I'm going to click on that, and you have to do that so it updates your icons. I already went through it just now, so of course it opens up at the end of it, but you hit the PTT key and the second button down, bottom side, on the side there. So let me show you real quick. I mean, I think it's pretty explanatory, but you're going to hold down the PTT and the 2 button, and that's going to put you in update mode. And then you go through these instructions. You go to the CPS for software and follow what this says, and that'll update your icons. And then your icons will be proper. So then let's go back to the file, and it also has this JSON to CSV file conversion instructions. I haven't looked at that. This virtual driver instructions, that may be something you want to do first off to make sure you have the right driver on your computer so it reads your radio. So obviously I am not a pro at all this, but I'm telling you what I went through doing this. So what I want to see now is, I figured out on my own how to update the caps, but let's see if this user manual actually tells you how to update the caps. I'm not sure if they updated the user manual. So just to find out, I'm going to do a search for satellite and see what comes up. All right. And GPS info. If GPS is not positioning, it will not display no fixed position. And it'll connect to the satellites. Okay, so it's only showing 2 in this instructions. And it's talking about GPS satellites. So with that, I'm not sure if they have any instructions in here that show you how to update the caps. So I'm going to show you how I figured it out. So you're going to want to make sure you got your COM port set up here in the top right corner. Which mine was set. I'm not going to update it again. I just did it. But make sure you got the right COM port set. Then you go over here to Tools. And all the way at the bottom here, you see Satellite Data Writing. With your HT connected and your right COM port, you're just going to want to hit write. And it's going to write, if you're connected to the internet, it's going to write the current caps to your radio. Then the caps should be right. Until I did that, or, you know, the proper caps. Until I did that, I didn't have the proper caps. So, it was off by like an hour. So that I would recommend doing at least once every 3 days. I always update the caps on my OpenGD 77 firmware every day before I work satellites, just to be safe. You can get by for a couple days, I think, and be okay. But I always compare what the radio says to what my ISS Detector Pro app says on my phone. To make sure that the radio is synced with the proper caps. So I will show you the radio now with the new icons. Give me a second here and I'll move over to the radio. Alright, we are back at the Anytone radio. The sun is really crazy right now. Here, I'll just hold it like this. Alright, so I'm going to hit the menu button. And I'm going to scroll down to the satellite. And now you see it has a picture of a satellite instead of a speaker. And now I'm going to go down to the satellites. And it's doing predicting. And it has a little satellite symbol there instead of a speaker. Before it had a speaker. So it's predicting the satellites after I did that satellite right update. It says the next satellite is PO101 in 29 minutes. Now to open up that squelch, I use this middle knob and it opened up the squelch. You're going to want the squelch open when you're working satellites. So now it says it's 29 minutes away. I cannot actually double check that with my ISS Detector Pro app. I mean, I guess maybe I can. Let me pause this and try to do a screen recording. I don't know if I could do both at the same time, but hey, let's try it. Give me a second. Alright, so you see here, I'm going to push on the ISS Detector Pro app. It's the first column, 1, 2, 3, fourth one down, ISS Detector Pro. So PO101 at 6:54 p.m. I'm going to click on that. It says I have 26 minutes and 50 seconds on this ISS Detector Pro. I'm a little concerned that the Anytone 878 says I have 28 minutes and 5 seconds. So they're off a little bit. And I don't know if it was because of the computer time when I updated the caps or not. Let me make sure I clicked on the right thing. Yeah, so I got 26 minutes and 22 seconds on this app, and I've got 27 and 46. So it's a little bit off. It's close enough. I think it's going to be okay, but it is a little bit off. So we're going to have to actually try it with the Aero antenna. I needed a different adapter for my antenna on this Anytone. So I'm not going to be able to try this till tomorrow evening probably. But I wanted to show you what I'm finding out. And I'm going to stress this. If you don't have the Anytone 878 radio, don't go out and buy it just for this satellite firmware. It's an expensive radio. You can do it a lot cheaper with the Retevis RT3S radio and the OpenGD 77 firmware, and I have other videos about that. The only thing that's cool is if you happen to have this radio, which I did for DMR, it can do the satellites too. But there's nothing that so far that I've seen that this Anytone 878 firmware does for the satellites that's any different. It doesn't seem to be full duplex or anything like that. It seems to be exactly the same as OpenGD 77 firmware on the Retevis RT3S. So again, don't go out and buy this just for the satellite stuff. You're better off watching my as far as now, you're better off watching my other videos on the OpenGD 77 firmware and putting that on a Retevis RT3S. It's cheaper. If for some reason this ends up being full duplex or something like that, then I will definitely let you know. But do not buy the Anytone 878 unless you look at the HT and look at its features and it's something that you want in an all-around DMR radio and whatnot. I will say it does have really good battery life, and it is a very well-built radio, HT, but it's on the expensive side. So there's cheaper ways to do this with the OpenGD 77 firmware. All right, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, you can comment in the video here. But, you know, for the most part, it's all a learning experience. You find something you want to do, something new on an HT or anything with amateur radio or computers or anything. It's all experimental, and you figure it out. So I'm just sharing that this can be done, and it seems pretty cool. But time will tell if it's working great. I'm sure if something's not working great, they're going to fix it. But anyway, thanks for watching Amateur Radio with W8CPT. Captain Don here saying 73.